So, how was life different in America when you came then from South? So you weren't living in Salisbury at that time.
I left from Bulawayo when I went back.
How was coming to like Washington D.C. different than Bulawayo?
Oh, I was so miserable. For one thing, I landed in August, and in Washington D.C., if you know anything about it, it's just unbearably hot and humid, and there was no air conditioning in the cars or in the houses or anyway. And people would say to me, "Oh, but you're from Africa, aren't you used to the heat?" Not where I came from. You could at least be in the shade and you'd be cool. Mm-hmm. And then the culture was just so different. Those my age, it seemed to me, were very immature. Their thinking was shallow. And I was so lonely. Cecil, at this time, was going to school full time and courting anime and sleeping, so I never saw him. And I would come home and dial, in those days you could dial time and weather, and I would do that just to hear somebody's voice. Oh, and I would have gone back to Africa in trice, but I was too proud. Mom would say, come home, but I couldn't do it. But eventually, with Barbara Jensen, and they're full of nonsense, and the other girl who worked in the records office with me, and then we made friends.
How long would you say that you were miserable?
6 months.
Long time.
And the landlady made our lives miserable. We lived in a private home on the top floor. And I've told you this before, they had these heaters, the hot water heaters.
The radiators?
The radiators. And she made us promise when we first moved in that we wouldn't mess with them. Well, that'd just be on full force. And we weren't used to central heating. And so this terrible heat. And so I would open the windows. Well, that annoyed her. And I came home one day and tried to open the windows. And she yelled up, "You silly fool, you can't do that anymore. We've nailed them down," or whatever. So then we turned the heat down. And then she was mad. And we had company over. Cecil's best friend, Leroy Washuttle, and his wife. They'd come over for supper. And this woman shouted up the stairway, "My husband's coming up to turn the heat back on." And Cecil stood there with a knob carry. You know what a knob carry is? It's what the Africans carry around. It's a heavy stick with a ball on it.
We have one.
Yeah. So Cecil stood at the top of the stairs. "Let him come. I'm ready for him." You can imagine Cecil doing that. And she used to come. He didn't come up. One day I had company over, and we were laughing and carrying on in the living room, and I heard this woman shout at her children, "Be quiet, I'm trying to hear what's going on upstairs." And I'd come home and she'd written in the dust under the bed, I saw that. I must have been trying to clean, because she'd written, "I can write my name in this dust." So eventually she evicted us. So that made my life miserable.
Yeah.
So you weren't going to church during this time?
Yes, but they're all big churches there, you know. They didn't know or
Like to
care if
come
you came
apart,
to
or-
church or not. Went to Sligo first and then went to Riverdale Church, which was a smaller church, but still.
So this was what year that you came? That you immigrated?
Oh, I never can remember, but now I could figure it out from my age. Because if I turned 25 on the boat, and I was born in 31, that was 54.
No, 56, right?
56? Come on, you mathematicians.
31 plus 25 is, yeah.
Is what?
56, yeah.
And then Vivian was born in 59.
But Wayne remembers when I came over, because that's when he got married the first time. And I always said I wasn't at his wedding, and I insisted for years, many, many years, that I was not at his wedding. And lo and behold, a little while ago, he was going through some old things and found my signature on his registry, his wedding list. So I was there. But it was the few weeks after I arrived, and so that whole thing was so miserable.
Yeah, there's so much chaos going on.
Yeah.